Welcome back to Collectability. Today we're going to discuss some new inventory on the topic of affordable complications that are presently available. Now when I say the word affordable, I realize it's a relative term. Some of these pieces have exceptionally high price points, but relative to their retail prices, there is incredible value. Also relative to resale, we see some incredible value. So some of these pieces here, and you'll see the price offerings on the site, are quite interesting. And it's fun to imagine in 10 years where the pricing will be, but one thing's for sure. In 10 years, you're going to be very happy to have these watches on your wrist, and if the values happen to go up, that makes it even more pleasurable. But before we get started today, I want to thank you for listening, and I have a personal favor to ask. Please push that subscribe button on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. This will ensure the future of this channel and help us help you discover the world of collectability. So if you love Patek Philippe content, push that button now and please comment below after you watch this video. So now, let's get started. From annual calendars to chronographs to perpetual chronographs, these pieces are all from circa 2000 to 2012, and it's a collection of watches that I challenge all of you to get into your time machine and imagine which of these pieces will be on the cover of an auction catalog in a decade. It's always fun to predict trends, but no one has a crystal ball. But everything here, I assure you, is going to have just decades of enjoyment on your wrist, and it's just fun to imagine the future of each of these timepieces. So let's start with a piece that was released in the year 1998, and that is the reference 5070 in yellow. Based on a piece that's at the museum in Geneva, the 5070 is a beautiful watch. I mean, look at that. It's yellow gold with a black dial, and that's the way the first version of these were released in 1998. And this example is from the year 2000. The design of the original, which is this 1940s aviator watch that you can see at the museum, is just an iconic look for Patek Philippe. And today, the 5070 is one of the most sought after of all Patek Philippe watches from the so-called neo-vintage era. It's quickly a fan favorite, as I said, and the 5070 remains so desirable for a number of reasons, not only for its size, not only for its aesthetic, but the fact that only 1,000 of these or less were made in this first execution, yellow gold, makes it even more interesting. It's getting very difficult to find examples that are complete with box and papers, as this example is, and it's also preserved in mint condition, and it was bought directly from the original owner. Next is a piece I'm equally as excited to present, and that is the reference 5135G. For those that know me, you've known I've had a 5135 for years with the silver dial. It was the first complicated Patek Philippe that I ever bought for myself personally. And when this was introduced in 2004, it really just surprised the market for its size, its shape, and its aesthetic. I mean, this to-know-shaped watch is just a beauty on the wrist. It was made with incredible attention to detail. The case in particular, made by Atelier Réuni, is one of the most complicated Patek Philippe modern cases. And its unusually large size and so-called useful complication of the annual calendar makes it fun to wear, an excellent value proposition. But there's something else I'd like to show you. Take a close look below the moon phase on this watch, and you're gonna see the words Tiffany and Company. Yes, this slate gray 5135G is also Tiffany signed. So this example is very well priced, and I don't expect it to last long because it's an important piece in the collecting community, not only for those that love Patek Philippe, but for those that love Tiffany dials. 5396 was launched in 2006, and it's an homage to a design that we first started seeing in the 1930s. But this is an annual calendar. Now you'll see the apertures for the day and month, which is very, very useful. And this sector dial of the first version of the 5396 is one of the most desirable. Now, this particular piece really, it brings back memories of the 3448, or even the reference 3450 perpetual. But as an annual calendar, it's priced so well. This example is from 2008, full set, and I think the next owner is going to get years of enjoyment for this important watch on their wrist. Now, speaking of annual calendars, we have to discuss the 5205. Now, the reference 5205 was first released in 2010, and it brilliantly combines the annual calendar with the instantaneous date display with 3 apertures. The elegant layout of this dial combines vintage nods and this futuristic look, and it's just an easy read on the wrist and oh so comfortable. As one of the most desirable annual calendars, it's a modern masterpiece and available at very tempting price points. This example is complete with its original certificate of origin and ready for your wrist. Now, speaking of value, this next piece is a perpetual calendar that should not be missed. This is a 5139 perpetual calendar. Now, you'll note the difference between the 5140 is this has a hobnail pattern on the bezel. Now, when you combine a hobnail or clou de Paris with a perpetual calendar, we have the quintessential Patek Philippe watch. This was inspired by its predecessor, the 5039, and the 5139 is a bit larger. It's 38 millimeters on the wrist, which is just perfect. And it has the automatic 240Q caliber. It's nothing short of a modern marvel on the wrist. I mean, just look at that black dial. I mean, the finish does not disappoint. Now, with the current version of the reference of 5327, clocking in at nearly $100,000, there's nothing but value here for this 5139, which can be bought for less than half of that price. Next, the 5140G. I mentioned it before because it's another personal favorite. And look at that on the wrist. I mean, that is just classic Patek Philippe. Now, this particular piece was released in 2006, and the 5140 is just the modern interpretation of a perpetual calendar that everyone needs to have. It wasn't until 2010 that the reference was made in platinum and then 18 karat yellow gold. As the noble successor of the reference 3940, the 5140 was very well received in the marketplace. And now it's just beginning to make that tradition to a so-called modern vintage watch. The value window for acquisition at an attractive price point for this reference remains open, but beware, the secret is now out, and I expect prices to go up for these shortly. This specimen example is ready to wear with all of its original accompaniments. Last but not least, I have something extra to show you. This is a 5140p. Single sealed in its original seal. It hasn't been on a wrist, from Patek Philippe in 2012. Now, when this reference was introduced in 2006 in white gold, as we saw with the last lot, it was followed a few years later with some different dial and color variations. But it wasn't until 2010 that the reference was made in platinum, as you see here, with a blue dial. And this, I have to say, is my favorite version of the 5140. Just look at that blue dial and imagine unsealing that and having it on your wrist so that you can begin your own tradition with this important perpetual calendar on your wrist. Blue dial, factory sealed, complete set, and ready for the next collector. Thank you so much for watching. Please comment below on what complications you actually use on your Patek Philippe watch. And please let me know if you have any questions, or reach out to our team if you'd like to purchase any of the pieces in front of me today. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to Collectability on YouTube, Instagram, and also TikTok so that you don't miss any future posts. Thank you again, and enjoy the hunt.